he really pays it. He's very aware. And to me, I was never a Canelo guy before, but after the past 5 fights, I was like, you know what? If I'm not a Canelo fan now, I'm a fucking hater. But I am a fan now because I really appreciate his work ethic, you know, the way he fucking...
Friends, today's video will be dedicated to the best fights in Saul Canelo Alvarez's career. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and also leave comments in 4 words. Let's go! Number 1. James Kirkland. In 2013, a young Saul Canelo Alvarez got the chance to test his skills against the era's best boxer, Floyd Mayweather, but it didn't turn out well. Money effortlessly outplayed the hyped-up youngster, claiming his title and conquering yet another weight class. Nonetheless, there were some positives for Saul. Facing Mayweather earned Alvarez his first serious paycheck in his career and significantly expanded his fan base, primarily consisting of Mexican supporters at the time. His triumphant return came 6 months later in an interim weight class. Alvarez faced fellow countryman Alfredo Angulo, and the fight lasted 10 incomplete rounds before it was stopped due to Angulo's defeat. Fate then presented Saul with a significant challenge against Cuban boxer Erislandy Lara. Despite the lack of hype around him and a modest 19-1 record, Lara gave the young Mexican a tough fight, losing only by a split decision. This performance against the Cuban technician signaled to promoters that it was too early to thrust Canelo back into the big leagues. Consequently, his next opponent was James Kirkland. The American had over 30 fights in his professional career, mostly within the super welterweight division, and only 1 loss. However, his most significant achievement remained the WBC Continental Americas title, indicating his true level. On the flip side, Kirkland excelled in close and mid-range fights and had an intimidating presence, so a victory over him was expected to elicit an enthusiastic response among Canelo fans. The Mandingo warrior chose not to change his aggressive approach and went after his opponent with wide hooks. Saul retreated to the ropes, covering up with a high guard, then began countering. He had a keen sense of timing between the opponent's attacks and launched his own series of strikes precisely when James least expected it. Kirkland's hands hardly protected his head, so he absorbed powerful shots to the face, yet initially kept pressing forward. However, this didn't last long.
Canelo taking his time and landing the big shot, knowing right hand, down goes Kirkland.
Alvarez's hits made the veteran worry about his jaw, causing him to shift to a defensive stance. But Saul couldn't be stopped. He bombarded Kirkland with a flurry of blows, landing one devastating right that sent the American to the canvas. It was a knockdown. In the final minute, Canelo mercilessly bombarded James from all angles. A more peaceable referee might have stopped such a one-sided bout, but luck was on our side and the second round was destined to happen. The beginning of the second round was just like the end of the previous one, indicating that it was time for James to start righting his wheel, but he disagreed. In the middle of the round, Saul began to back off, apparently deciding to take a short break as it's impossible to pummel someone without getting tired. Kirkland tried to seize this opportunity and stepped up his game, but failed to land any significant shots on the Mexican. As the round drew close, he took some dangerous body punches. The first 2 minutes of the following round resembled a brawl between tipsy bargoers. The guys were so tired of exchanging punches. However, class prevailed.
And coming back. And tell him because there he is.
During one of Kirkland's sluggish attacks, Saul elegantly dodged and countered with an uppercut, then created space and ended it with a powerful right hook.
Right uppercut continues to land. There's a perfect straight right hand.
Number 2. Rocky Fielding. The trilogy of Gennady Golovkin, particularly the first and second fights, will undoubtedly forever remain one of the most, no, perhaps the most challenging trials in Canelo's career. Triple G of the 2017 version was already slowly heading towards his twilight years, but still managed to give the Mexican a fight that independent experts scored as 115 to 113 in favor of the champion, yet the victory was awarded to Alvarez. The second showdown was closer, and Saul emerged victorious once again, reducing the controversies. This event helped solidify his position in the eyes of fans, and he was hailed as the middleweight champion, albeit for a short time. After defeating such a high-level opponent, Canelo's popularity and earnings received another upgrade, but his ambitions grew even more. He realized that he could now dictate his terms and decided to strike while the iron was hot, swiftly setting his sights on another title in the super middleweight division. It was a serious step, and such a transition required handling it with utmost responsibility, but Canelo and his team were no fools. They had everything figured out. Among all the champions in the new weight category, they chose the most harmless and relatively unknown to the public, Rocky Fielding. The guy had 28 fights under his belt, mostly fought in his native territory, Britain, and only ventured beyond when offered a title bout against the undefeated German champion Tyrone Zerger for the WBA title. Surprisingly, Rocky took him out in the 5th round, becoming the new title holder, but now he had to defend it against the intimidating Canelo at the iconic arena in New York. The commentator started his work with the question, "Will Rocky survive?" And this phrase fits perfectly with the meat grinder that Saul unleashed. Fielding had an obvious advantage in size, but he simply didn't know how to work at long range, so it was pointless in his case. Moreover, despite his first appearance in the new division, Canelo looked incredibly powerful and clearly surpassed the opponent in physical strength, effortlessly crowding him and attacking the body, which was the most sensible decision.
To keep Canelo Alvarez at bay. Does he have that stick down on his shot?
When facing the Mexican at close range, Rocky seemed frozen, inevitably taking left shots to the liver. Just a couple of strikes in this style, and Saul secured the first but not the last knockdown of the fight. Fielding played the night, rising to his knee, then surviving near the ropes, attempting to focus on defense, but he did so, to put it mildly, not so successfully. The second round left only one question: is Rocky a masochist or an idiot? Understanding that the shorter, stronger opponent had an advantage in the clinch and at close range, he still kept closing in and exchanging blows. Yes, a couple of times he managed to connect with Canelo's jaw, but the latter acted very academically, made minimal mistakes, and continued bombarding the liver, almost ignoring the Briton's head.
No, he doesn't. Down he goes.
As a result, a second knockdown towards the end of the round, and again Rocky takes a knee. A bit more and he would have proposed to Saul. In the third round, the Mexican unexpectedly decided to change tactics and attacked with combinations to the head. Despite his defense, the opponent managed to absorb a lot of punches and retaliated with jabs that didn't harm Alvarez. Just 2 minutes of active head work was enough for the Mexican to catch and drop Rocky with the right hand.
Maybe he's trying to get Canelo to
Hard
wear
right
himself
hand,
out.
down he goes.
Unsure of where the next hit might come from, Fielding covered his body with his hands, but Canelo doubled up an uppercut and again reached the liver.
He can do. That was a headshot. Down he goes to the body, and that should do it.
Now it's a knockout. A masterful performance and a true champion. Number 3. Sergey Kovalev. The fight with Fielding was a walk in the park for Canelo, yet it added a new title to his list of achievements, and most importantly, Saul realized he felt quite comfortable even in the super middleweight division. However, this circumstance didn't prevent him from making a swift return to the lower weight class and unanimously defending his titles against Daniel Jacobs. What would be the champion's next move? In reality, there were still contenders in the middleweight division like Jamal Charlo, but the Mexican chose to act with his repertoire and jump back to a heavier weight class to now contend for the WBO belt. It seems this guy has a passion for collecting titles, but that can't be faulted. At that time, the coveted belt belonged to the Russian Sergey Kovalev with the fearsome moniker The Crusher. Until 2016, the massive and explosive boxer was undefeated, holding 3 different versions of the championship, and it seemed unlikely that anyone had a chance to stop him. However, as often happens, the era was abruptly interrupted. In Kovalev's case, Andre Ward became the executioner, but their first bout left many questions, and most experts still agree that the judge's decision in favor of Son of God was erroneous. Nevertheless, Andre managed to prove his superiority when he finished Sergey in the rematch. After this duology, Sergey's career went adrift, but after 2 years, he managed to secure a title and was now compelled to defend it against the young and hungry Canelo. Simply put, they fed the veteran with a name to the young star, but that's the law of the jungle. He claims the championship belt. And that's it. Enjoyed the video? Then be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Do you think Canelo rightfully earned the title of one of the strongest boxers in recent years? Which fights of the Mexican champion do you like the most? Be sure to share your opinion in the comments.